سيدنا محمد حبيبي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. That's not the, oh, there it is. Is that okay?
Yeah, you just have to go
Okay, from there.
from this.
If I go like that, I'll go over this. From here?
That's doing page down.
That's fine. We'll start from here, yeah. Okay, Bismillah. I hope you're well, inshallah ta'ala. We're not losing count of Ramadan fast, are we? 6, isn't it? Feels like 2. Allahu Akbar. Flies, subhanallah. Ajib, we would have been a week into it. This is a really beautiful book. I thought I had some prints left from the Sil days. The one we're using, you'll have to see if you can find. This is just an extra book. We're not doing this book, by the way. This is just an extra one that I find you can benefit from. The one we're looking at is called Prayers for Occasions. It's a very unique book, and we studied this in our courses in the Sil. There may not be any more in print. If I see your faces regular on a Tuesday evening, Wednesday, what is it? Tuesday, I taught in the morning. Then maybe by the end of the towards the end of Ramadan, I might pull off some copies for you. Okay, they're out of print. It's an amazing book. So you can see by the theme, it's called Prayers for Occasions. Okay, and you can see that the author. The author, Allah protect him. He's a great man. He's a professor at the Oxford University. He's got a PhD from Oxford in history. He works at the Islamic Center in Oxford, and he studied in Damascus for 10 years. He's Syrian, born in America. So he's an American. Kafi. He didn't say coffee. He says Kafi. That's one way of doing it. And one of the most complete human beings I've met, just as somebody I was studying with, and amazing. And his name is Shaykh Al-Azam. So he put this book together. You look at it, prayers. So the prayers for occasions. So he's divided the book into different occasions. Number 1, prayers proper to the time of day. So these are prayers connected to the day. And you can see we've got the mid-morning prayer, which is Salatul Duha. Okay. And then you got the prayer of the off repenting, which in Arabic is called Salatul Awwabin, isn't it? And you got the night prayer, which is the Salat Tahajjud. Okay. And really, this is a good, good map, good program for anybody who wants to become a pious human being. Like if you want to have a checklist or something that you want to strive towards, if you could start bringing these type of prayers into your life, then you know you're on the right track. You see, for example, and perhaps even in this order. Of having the mid-morning prayer, Salatul Duha, okay, and then the after Maghrib prayer. These are extra optional prayers. These are nawafil, nafil prayers. These are. Okay, but this is beyond the fara'id. This book is speaking beyond the fara'id. Okay, this is beyond your 5 daily prayers. These are prayers for occasions from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So prayers proper to the time of day. We'll look at some of these now. Okay, in detail, and this is according to the Hanafi fiqh. Okay, even though the prayers are there in the Sunnah, but according to the Hanafi fiqh, the fiqh laws connected to these prayers. And then you've got prayers of the sacred calendar. So you've got the night vigil on the eve of mid-Sha'ban, which was beautiful in Damascus with some great scholars. Yesterday, I was listening to Shaykh Muhammad Sukkar, rahimahullah, Shaykh Sami's father-in-law teaching. My son was listening to him and said, "Got good tajweed." So if he ain't got good tajweed, who has? And he used to lead the mid-Sha'ban Nafil prayer in the masjid there. A great Shafi scholar. Then you got the Ramadan night prayers, Taraweeh. With the night vigil in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, which is what we call Qiyamul Layl. Sort of Tahajjud becomes, in some ways, a side. Qiyamul Layl takes over because the Prophet encouraged staying awake those nights. And so because there's no sleep and waking up, then it sort of becomes Qiyamul Layl, a night vigil. As you find in the Haramain, they have this night Tahajjud prayer, which is interesting because they have on Sunday we have a workshop on Bid'ah. I speak to Shaykh Jamili, And he'll have a handout and also some PowerPoints for Sunday. We're going to have should be an interesting one, this one. This is based on a book by Shaykh Abdul Ilah Al-Arfaj, a great book on Mafhum al-Bid'ah, understanding Bid'ah. And what's interesting is they establish 8 rak'ah nafil or qiyamul layl in jama'ah in Mecca, Medina. So the good question to pose to them is, where do you get that from? You see, where do you get that from in the Sunnah? You see, the Sunnah doesn't have that. You see, the Prophet prayed Tahajjud prayer, but this is Qiyamul Layl prayer and it's in Jama'ah, public. So where do you get that from? And so this goes against the principles they set, you see, to establish and initiate a new prayer, which is not in the Sunnah. You see, this is where normally they say bid'ah. Where's that one coming from? So it would be interesting. I invite everybody for that one. And so you've got the Taraweeh, the night vigil, which is Qiyam al-Layl, night vigil on the eves of the 2 Eids. This is another one that people forget about staying awake and worshipping on the 2 nights of Eid. These are strong in the Sunnah. We'll see the hadith connected to this. The Eid al-Fitr prayer, okay, this is a wajib prayer in the Hanafi madhab. Night vigil in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Most scholars say, wal fajri wa layalin ashr. Allah swears by the dawn and the 10 nights. So these nights are referring to the nights of Dhul Hijjah, the nights leading up to the Hajj. And then you've got, they say they call it 10, but really it's the 9. You see, because Hajj ends on the Arafah, but it's sort of referred to as the 10. And then you've got the Eid al-Adha prayer. So these are prayers connected to times in the year, aren't they? Okay, so, and then you've got prayers regarding the natural world. So the solar eclipse prayer, which we call Kusuf, okay, Kusuf al-Shams. And then you've got the prayer for, and then you've got the lunar eclipse as well, which he hasn't, maybe he's put them together there. One's called Kusuf, one's called Khusuf. You've got the prayer for rain, Salatul Istisqa, okay? And then you've got the prayer of fear from nature. Is that clear? Zalzala, okay? Strong wind blowing. You know, storm, okay? You know, what is the sunnah when it comes to this? You see, what do you do? And in a nutshell, the Prophet would stand on his, or he'd go down onto his knees, you see, and hands up and make dua. But he would go on his knees and make a dua, and it comes in this chapter. Then you've got the prayer of divine aid, and this is really important. And I mentioned that somebody's waiting for me to send the link. So I think it's a good, you know, because Salatul Istikhara. So you have seeking aid from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope it goes beyond this. It does go beyond this. Now, for each page, inshallah, you have to just bear with me. And yeah, we missed a bit. Yeah, we go here. Is that? There we are. So we can see prayer, istikhara, prayer of need. What's prayer of need? Salatul Hajjah. Again, lots of people have needs, but they don't really know what to do. And there's a salah there in the Sunnah for when you have a need. You know, a need might be, I want a job. You know, I need this marriage. I need, you know, I want to go somewhere. You know, whatever else. The prayer for strengthening the memory. Interesting one. You see, Salatul Taqwiyat al-Hifz or Quwwat al-Hifz. This was a prayer taught by the Prophet to Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib. He would complain to the Prophet of a weak memory. So he taught him a prayer that's prayed in the night of a Friday nights, okay, over 4 consecutive Fridays. And you read 4 different surahs in the prayer. And his memory went from struggling to memorize 10 ayahs to like 40 ayahs in a short setting, you see. And so here, but what's key in all of this is that every one of these, when you take the means, you're actually asking God, you see. But it's different ways of asking Allah for different things. So there's different protocol for different things. And so here, And this is the beautiful, the beautiful thing of this, that it's all ibadah and it's for different things, and you sort of have somebody who has all this has sort of covered everything really. And prayer is proper to certain actions. You've got prayer after ablutions, what we call tahiyyatul wudu. Tahiyyatul wudu. Okay, is that clear? And then you've got who's famous for this? Tahiyyatul wudu. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And you've got prayers of greeting the mosque. Okay, what you've got tahiyyatul masjid. And then the prayer before traveling, which is an interesting one because we haven't maybe never heard of that. Okay. And the prayer upon returning from travel, okay, and the prayer of entering or exiting one's home. So these have to do with du'as as well. Now it moves on to prayers of momentous occasions. The wedding night prayer. You see, what wedding night prayer? You get it? I mean, we've heard of walimas, we've heard of after post-wedding parties, and and so sorts. Prayer. Like, what prayer? You see, so this is an interesting one. That we have this in the Sunnah. There's a prayer there that is to be prayed, on the night of one's wedding. The funeral prayer and the prayer of the condemned. And this is interesting because there are a lot of people who are sort of in isolation, in prison, you see, and they're stuck. And what do you do in these type of situations? I'm not sure. Maggie, you told me this. What's that film called? About a guy who's stuck in is it that free runner? They remember they fell into a hole and got stuck for 36 hours or something. Was it? 157 hours. Some of you may relate to it. He just told me about the story of this. Is it called free runner? Yeah, like what are they called? The ones who. Yeah. Somebody got stuck and he had to cut his own arm. And there are two scholars, Shaykh Ahmad Habab, rahimahullah, Shaykh Hadib Kalas, to make dua. These were deemed the most pious people in Damascus, and I think they were sort of accepted as everybody. And it was completely packed, tens of thousands of Muslims gathered to pray. And the TV stations were there, live broadcasting. And subhanAllah, Allah's our witness. In the dua, you have the prayer, don't you? You have a dua. And in the dua, it started to rain live on TV. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, subhanAllah. This was the one summitist scholar we had in Damascus, praying prayer now, subhanAllah. So the prayer of the prayers of spiritual ascent, the prostration of gratitude, which is a part of the prayer, is said to the shukr. We went Hajj by road in 1999. One of our friends from Yemen, he was American Yemeni, Omar his name was. He knocked on my house and said, "You want to go Hajj?" It's like random as that. wasn't sure what to say to him. Yeah, I said, yeah, why not? But there's like 8 days, 9 days left for Hajj. And then I said to him, I'll get back to him. So my next door neighbor was Shaykh Qureshi. I knocked on his door. What do you think? Yeah. So his wife agreed to pay for his Hajj. So I rang my dad. He said, yeah, if you want to. But I had no idea where we were going, like the process, not the Hajj, like how to get there. So he goes, we're going by road. Anyhow, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but we caught a bus, caught a taxi to Jordan, stayed with one of the Shaykh here actually. And he said, basically, somebody, are you mad? Like, you got no visa, you're going to go to the border on Saudi, Jordanian border and think you can go Hajj. That's the plan. He just laughed and he really, really funny what he did. Anyhow, we still went, it was that bad. And we went and we got in. There's like 6,000 people in the desert for 5 days. And we sort of got to the Jordanian border, there's a checkpoint. They wouldn't let people go ahead. And then we sort of escaped. Okay. We got to the border, which was a few kilometers away. And then there we just spoke English. And there's a few hundred people there as well. And because we spoke English, the Jordanians love English. So they let us in to the border point, the Jordanian border side. When we got in, we tried to find how we're going to get out of Jordan to get into Saudi to do Hajj. And finally, we found the guy who was in charge, the supervisor. He was horrible. So we thought the way around this is we have to wait for the shift change. So we went to the masjid. They got the guy coming in. He's praying Salat al-Dhuhr. So we found him, started speaking English with him. And they love their English, right? So he goes, okay, come. So when we went into his office, the guy who was head of the past checkpoint where we ran away from, he's sitting there. But we called him Joe Cool. Why, I don't know. He had sunglasses. He wanted to help us out. Anyhow, we got out of Jordan because you need an exit visa. You need a visa for the next country, but in order to get out, you need a visa as well. But then he give you that if you got a visa for the next place. So he gave us an exit visa, even though we don't have a visa for Saudi. We could see the perimeter of the Saudi border, and we could hear the dogs barking, okay, and we could see the lights. And so we leave Jordan, walking to Saudi border, a mile, and there's a bus that's about to leave with Syrian Hajjis. And in Syria, you can only go Hajj if you're over 40 years of age. Otherwise, it's banned. Young Hajjis know they don't want people to become religious. So this coach is leaving, and we're walking. The guy calls us back, and he's got his gun. We're like, come here. We've got so far, we thought, no, this can't be, right? And he goes, come back. And he come back, and he goes, wait. He stops the bus. He goes, take these up with you. So we go to the back of the bus, okay, because the Buddha are not going to sit in the back because the bumps are going to hurt their backs, right? So it's free. So we jump in the back. The bus goes all the way up to the Saudi checkpoint, okay. And we see Jordan behind us, and there's people standing there. And the guy speaks to the bus driver. The bus driver opens the gates, and we go in. And he closes the gates, and we can't believe our fortune, right? We get off the bus, and we're like, we're on Saudi soil. The only thing between us and a Hajj is one door, one gate. That's it. Nothing else. So we're sitting there thinking, what's going to happen next? Because we don't have a visa to enter. And we could see all these people standing outside. Subhanallah, Allah bless the Dagestanis. And those, thank God, because of UFC, now people know who Dagestanis are, right? There's some hard rock people, bro, who can fight. So these Dagestanis would come Hajj by road via Syria. They would sell their honey and goods from Dagestan to make enough money to come Hajj. And they would sell further on Hajj, and then they'll go back by road again. Is that clear? They didn't reach the border, and the king had granted them 31 visas. So they were looking for 31 people to give the visas to because it was the eve of Mina. We happened to be there. So Omar Qureshi's name was, Omar something else. And he was quite good and chatty and very, can have conversation. So he found a young Saudi, like 18 years of age, with his Wutra, and he said, that guy said he's going to help us out. Like, he's a kid. He said he can help us out. Believe it or not, here after that. So we got a visa, written, handwritten. But at that point, when they said we're going Hajj, 6,000 people behind, and only 31 of us are going to go Hajj. And they said, can you please head towards the health camps where they're going to give us meningitis jabs and so. And I remember the joy on our faces. Actually, the joy was after we had the jabs. We had jabs, we came out, and we were ecstatic, and we were going into sajda. You get it? That joyous moment. I remember that sajda on that soil. And subhanAllah, some of us made it out. We walked out of the border. Some guy, he signed our passports, handwritten visa to let us in. And some people he turned back. Why? What we saw was he didn't like the look of them, so he sent them back. He asked for a riot van, elderly men who wanted to go Hajj, because they were Jordanian or whatever. I thought he was racist. He sent them back. We saw them crying in the vans, man. It was sad, really sad. We were next, we were reading Hizbullah, we read every dua, we knew, thinking, Ya Allah. And alhamdulillah, we got in, and we walked it into Saudi Arabia, and it was the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, no, 7th of Dhul Hijjah, and it was the night. And tomorrow was the 8th. So we had 24 hours to Arafah. We walked out of Saudi, walking in the streets on this border road, thinking, how do we get to Mecca? And not knowing Mecca was 24 hours away. 18 hours drive, sorry. We just thought Mecca down the road. And we got to the service station, the guy said, Mecca's 18 hours from here. Thinking, how are we going to get there? Amazing. He was Yemeni, that guy was Yemeni. They were close, from the same village or something. He goes, I call my brother-in-law from Taif, from Tabuk. So his brother-in-law came 1:30. Drop him off. Took us on his taxi to Tabuk. Amazing. But I'm sorry I went off on one. I enjoyed going off on that one. Really beautiful memories. 1999. It's going to be 20 years. Allahu Akbar. Ajib. Subhanallah. Allah. Now, the prostration of gratitude, the prayer of repentance, the prayer of glorification, Salatul Tasbih. Salatul Tasbih. An amazing prayer. And the prayer of filial piety, and the prayer to stave off hypocrisy. Okay. So some of these prayers have big hadith. But the question is this, can we use them? And we know as a rule amongst all hadith scholars is when it comes to what we call meritorious worship, then you're allowed to use even weak hadith. Is that clear? Because it's not to do with aqidah, it's not to establish fara'id and so forth. So this is beneficial, inshallah. I think it's really worth reading this because this is a forward by Shaykh. It's quite short, but it's he said, occasions have been sent to man to remind him of the great realities of his existence, himself, his Lord, and his inevitable journey out of the world. Allah Most High says, how supreme in beneficence is He in whose hand is all dominion, and He has power over everything, who has created death and life to try you as to which of you is best in works, and He is the invincibly powerful and all-forgiving. Whoever takes these occasions to turn to the Divine finds unlocked for help, the path opening before him from one success to another. For the prayer salah is an intimate connection, silah, because silah means a connection, does it? To join, okay? Between creature and creator, to manifest his favour, lift man to a higher plane, remind him of his destiny. Greatest of all are the prescribed prayers, then the sunnahs associated with them, then the voluntary prayers to be performed regularly, including those in the present volume which bring a special closeness to Allah. As the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah Most High says, whomever is hostile to a friend, a wali of mine, I declare war against. My slave approaches me with nothing more beloved to me than what I have made obligatory upon him. This is so important. People want to draw nearer to Allah. If they're doing voluntary actions and dismissing fara'id, that's the wrong way. You get it? You're not going to connect. You know, when you're trying to put something together, there's no power. Something's missing. The wire is not connected well. You can't connect with Allah if you miss fara'id. Fara'id are so important. This Hadith Qudsi highlights that. My slave approaches me with nothing more beloved to me than what I have made obligatory upon him. And my slave keeps drawing nearer to me with voluntary works until I love him. And when I love him, and that's the thing, and we want to be beloved to Allah, loved by Allah, and we find that has a price, and that is the voluntary, okay, the optional, the nawafil. This is why this book becomes really important, because this book speaks all about voluntary things, okay? And I am his hearing, and when I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, his sight with which he sees, his hand with which he seizes, and his foot with which he walks. If he asks me, I will surely give to him, and if he seeks refuge in me, I will certainly protect him. I do not hesitate from anything I shall do more than my hesitation at taking the soul of the believer who dislikes death. For I dislike displeasing him, subhanAllah, Bukhari. So here, the point is, this Hadith Qudsi really highlights the power of voluntary actions, you see. So outside the fara'id, the Quran recitation, the charity, the dhikr and so forth, this is where Allah's love lies. If you want to be, you want to be loved by Allah, this is how you find it. Because the fara'id, you have no choice. The fara'id you have to do. Exactly. It's the nawafil that you can do or you don't have to do. That's why you can't tell somebody off for missing sunnahs and nawafil. Sunnah mu'akkad as you can perhaps, but nawafil, no. Somebody doesn't pray nafil, you can't tell, why do you pray nafil? It's nafil, none of your business. You get it? I give zakat. Can you tell people off? Of course you can, because that's somebody else's money in your pocket. But optional prayer, like masjid collections, do you have to give? They can't tell you, Jumoy, get your money. Don't have to. This is voluntary. And so this is where the big test is. How much do I love Allah? And this is why some people are amazing. Like when I was in Medina Sharif 1999, I met one of the Habaib, and he said to me, this Shaykh who passed away, and they were getting together to remember him. He said, this Shaykh, this Habib used to pray 10 juz of Quran he used to recite in Salatul Duha. 10 juz of Quran in Salatul Duha. What must he be reciting in Tahajjud and other parts of the day? 10 juz in prayer, in the mid-morning prayer. La ilaha illallah. And then he mentioned 10,000 istighfar and all sorts of numbers of dhikr. You see, voluntary, not fard, voluntary. This is why even in our world, when people give in charity, we love them. When you see these charity pews and people give a lot of money, they take, they have a place in your heart. You like that. That's very kind of them. And so here, the secret of the sacred knowledge in the manualizing, gaining it, perfecting it, making it one's inevitable practice, and continuing upon it with as much strength as one has in one's body for as long as one is alive. This is amazing. That's the key, you get it? The key is not to do it once. No, the key is to try to make these things ours, own them. Is that clear? Where they become a part and parcel of your daily routine. Is that clear? Every day or once a week and so forth, where there's a strong connection to these prayers. People who acquire knowledge in this way find their prayer spends upon their purity of heart, graciousness of character, triumph in life, and love of Allah. May Allah give success in this, has attained tremendous good in this world and the next. Ibn Ata is amazing, famous scholar from Egypt. He's known for his famous aphorisms, words of wisdom. Said, speaking from what he had personally tried and experienced, the prayer is a place of intimate converse and a mind load of sincere reciprocal love. In it, the vistas of secrets extend before one, and there appear on its horizons the dawnings of illuminations. He knew of weakness in you, so made them few in number, and knew your need for his bounty, so made them abundant in favour. La ilaha illallah. May Allah bless everyone who reads his work with closeness to him, through prayers with nothing in the heart but adoring Allah for himself. And may he make the hearts of all those who benefit from it, a joy to his beloved Prophet ﷺ on the day we rejoin him, a day when not even prodigious wealth or sun will avail, but rather only he who brings Allah a heart sound and pure. La ilaha illallah. It's nice to read the words of these people, especially people who have connections with God. Yes. So this is the book, okay? Now, it's again, I think there's a real benefit in reading the preface. Prayers of occasions is the handbook of Muslim ritual prayers, salah. The purpose of these prayers is the sanctification of daily life, the perception of the divine in all we experience and in all that we do. Allah. The scope of the book has been limited, as the title indicates, to prayers of occasions, events at particular moments, which engender a turning to the divine for clarity, remembrance and aid. As such, the set regular daily prayers, what we call rawatib, okay, have not been included. These include the 5 obligatory fard prayers, namely the prayer of dawn, fajr, dhuhr, mid-afternoon, asr, sunset, maghrib, and the nightfall isha. The witr prayer, which is required wajib according to the Hanafi rite. The confirmed sunnah mu'akkad, the prayers, namely 2 rak'ahs before the dawn prayer, 4 before the noon prayer, 2 after the noon prayer, 2 after the sunset prayer, and 2 after the nightfall prayer. And merely recommended supererogatory mandub rak'ahs regularly performed in addition to the confirmed sunnah prayers, namely 2 additional rak'ahs after the noon prayer beyond the aforementioned 2 rak'ahs which are confirmed sunnah, for a total of 4. This is the 2 sunnah, 2 nafil after dhuhr, isn't it? Okay. And then you have which are and 4 rak'ahs before the afternoon, which for afternoon prayer, which are sunnah ghair muqaddas, and 4 rak'ahs before the nightfall prayer, isha, sunnah ghair muqaddas, and 2 additional rak'ahs after the nightfall prayer beyond the aforementioned 2 rak'ahs which are confirmed sunnah, for a total of 4, which is your 4 sunnah, 4 fard, 2 sunnah, 2 nafil. Okay. This book has been compiled and translated from a number of classical works of Muslim worship and prophetic traditions, hadith. The source of each passage translated is provided in the Majid India, is that how you say it? And this is the beautiful thing. This is the same way Shaykh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda puts his books. On the margins he puts notes, and they're beautiful because as you open a book you can tell what's happening on that page. So it's a lovely thing to have. If you can find the original, find it. It's a beautiful piece of art. There's real ihsan done in its production. Who has an original work? Do you guys have? Have you seen? No? Nobody has? Okay. You might have to pay a good dollar for it, but it's worth it. It's very small. We had it printed with special permission from Shaitan with large margins with A4 size, and we use it in our soul. So subhanAllah. I'm going to skip this now because now he's going into how he set the book. Bismillah. Now look, the mid-morning prayer. Do you know that I can make this larger, right? Because you guys can't see this. But what about now? Is that clearer? Okay, let's try another one. They don't like sitting too close to me, especially in Ramadan with my bad breath. How about now? Is that better? Alhamdulillah. So the mid-morning prayer, which we call Salat al-Duha, the mid-morning prayer, Duha is a recommended mandub prayer for mustahabbat, okay? According to the dominant position of the Hanafi madhab. Minimally 2 rak'ahs, that's the least. This prayer is optimally performed as 4 rak'ahs or more. It is offered during the mid-morning, beginning when the sun has risen off the horizon and into the sky and ending immediately before the sun peaks. So this is different. This is good we read this because I said mistakenly in a previous lesson recently that it starts, you calculate from the beginning of Fajr, but you don't. You calculate from once the sun has risen, okay, exactly after the makruh time, or perhaps even from the sun rising, and you go all the way up to the, what did it say? Sun peaks, okay? So this is going to be Zawal. Is that clear? And then you divide that in two. Is that clear? Okay. So you said the most preferable time being once a quarter of the day has passed. So your day would go from sunrise, okay, or actually when you calculate the day, you probably go from dawn to maghrib. Is that clear? And then you divide that time into a quarter. Let's see what he adds. One may perform up to 12 rak'ahs for the mid-morning prayer. This is based upon At-Tabarani's narration in his Mu'jam al-Kabir on the authority of Abu Darda. Abu Darda is buried in Damascus in the old citadel wall. SubhanAllah, Imam Nawawi's teachers are buried there too. Great Sahabi of the Prophet who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever prays 2 rak'ahs will not be written amongst the heedless. So whoever prays 2 rak'ahs in the morning, okay, in the mid-morning prayer, will not be from amongst the what we call ghaflat wale. Ghafil person is somebody who forgets Allah. You get it? They forget to pray, they forget to read Quran. This is ghafla, okay? This is a dangerous state, right? And whoever prays 4 will be written amongst those in perpetual worship, al-abidin, a continuous worship. So this means by praying those 4 rak'ahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you continuous reward. Okay? Or we'll be raised with these people on the Day of Judgment. Whoever prays 6 will be sufficed a day. Whoever prays 8, okay, so whatever needs a person has, Allah will take care of them. And whoever prays 8, Allah will register, is it? Allah will register him amongst those standing perpetually in prayer, al-qanitin. The previous one said perpetually worshipping. This one is perpetually standing. If you don't know the difference, come stand in Taraweeh prayer. You see, when you have a long Taraweeh prayer, you find out how hard it is to worship Allah standing. You see, this is why when you're in Taraweeh, and at the end of Taraweeh, and especially the longer ones, you're able to read the Shama'il of the Prophet and really relate to it. When Sayyidina Aisha said that the Prophet stood all night in prayer, why? Out of gratitude to God. Thinking the whole night? Yeah, the whole night. Think, is that possible? Well, look at the royal wedding. Yeah, how long did some people sit outside just to get a glimpse? You know, people go to watch football games. Some of them are listening. Don't worry, I'm not having a dig at you. They travel, maybe if they go into a game up north, right? They leave 6 hours before the game, 5 hours before the game. Agreed, no? And they stand there like human beings shouting away. And then they drive back 5 hours or 4 hours in traffic and everything. For what? It's horrible when you do. I went to watch Liverpool Anfield once in my lifetime, and it was brilliant. What was brilliant? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I went with my friends, and we went on this 4-hour journey, got to Anfield, and it was all new for me, right? As a kid I did go, because I was living in Coventry in the madrasa, so we get tickets to watch Coventry, because they were trained on our artificial football pitch at school, so we got tickets. And so we went, I had watched a few games as a kid. I remember right when I was 10 and 12, I watched Chelsea, I watched Liverpool last 10 minutes when they opened the gates. I got in, to watch. The copper let me in. Yeah. And so we watched. Liverpool played Aston Villa, and they drew to Aston Villa after having taken the lead. And I saw some really interesting people, who were with their children swearing and going into these little states. And I came back 4 hours, 5 hours. At the end I thought, Wallahi, I said to myself, I never ever go again. I've never seen a greater time waste of my life. That was my observation. Had we won, it might have been completely different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us lose. So, there are people who spend hours outside Next waiting to get in, to get the sales. People spend hours standing waiting for tickets or to get in to get the latest iPhone. People do lots of crazy things. You know, why? Because they're in love with what they're about to get or who they're about to see, and they forget the fatigue and the tiredness and so forth. And this is the state of the Prophet of God, so that, you know, his love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept him awake the whole night, you know, in worship. Very few people relate to this. Now you can stay awake the whole night because a big fight's at 4 o'clock in the morning, so you stay awake because it's a big one, right? Yeah, Mayweather versus Conor, or whatever it is that you stay awake for, right? And you stay awake because you're excited, and you can see what drives people. You see, people are driven by different things. Some people are driven by worship. They love Allah. They can't wait for the nightfall. People have different answers. Some can't wait for the nightfall because then that's when they can sneak out and do their thing and nobody can tell where they are or who's there. And some can't wait for the nightfall because the Hajj is coming closer and the gates of the heavens open. They're able to converse with their Lord, their Creator. So here, whoever prays, what's interesting is 10 is not mentioned. It goes straight from 8 to 12. And whoever prays 12 rakahs for him, Allah shall build a home in paradise. But that's still, you know, if I said to somebody, you said it to me, and it's true, you said to me, look, you pray 12 rakahs every day, I'll give you a house in Wickham. Get it? I'll be waiting a few hours before, yeah. And there'll be amazing 12 rak'ahs, you get it? I mean, if you told me to stay awake the whole night on my feet and you'll give me a house in Wickham, I'll do that. If you told me to do that for a longer period of time, I'll probably do that, because that means mortgage-free, rent-free, house, cash, keys in your hand. Do you know what that means? That's a few $100K, bro. I'll sell up, go and move to Bradford and live it like a king. You get it? So here, right here, that means something else, man. You get it? Like a house. You give me a house. The extremes that I'll go to. I mean, look what you're going through, or people are going through just to cash a house. They work these crazy shifts. They collect money from so many beautiful people to put as a deposit. You get it? And then they're enslaved for 25 years, right? The bank or whatever, just to have their name on that property, my house. That's what it's about, isn't it? 25 years to own a house. So somebody who loves dunya understands that part. And Allah's Prophet saying here, whoever prays 12 rakahs, I'll build you a house in Jannah. Now, are you excited? And people are going to be different here. Wallahi, I guarantee, if somebody came here today and they said, listen, all of you people here, if you pray 12 rakahs, I'll give you a house. I can bet my life on this, if I'm a betting who are permitted, that this mosque will be filled by men and women who would hear on the radio and run for their house. Why? House cash, bro. Because this is a person from the dunya making a call, right? This is a false alarm, by the way, if you're running. Yeah, they will run. Yet the Prophet's calling, and different people, some people do respond, by the way. They get up every morning, they look forward to a house in Jannah. They knock out the 12 rakahs and say, see you, inshallah. Do you get it? And so here, it should be, this is why when I went to see Shaykh Ahmed Habbad, rahimahullah, this man was over 100 years of age. Just Google him. Man of dhikr. He was one of those who made the dua at the rain prayer, and it rained. And he, subhanallah, he had a shop in middle of, the center of Damascus, the busiest area of business, all the wholesalers. And guess what? He was selling nothing. He was just reading Quran. That's what he did. He owned that shop. That was his shop. He opened up and read Quran. Prayer time, we close, go pray, come back, open up again. When I went in and you came in, you sat and you listened to him recite Quran. And he called me over. I was alone that day. He called me and goes, don't leave Salat al-Duha. Alhamdulillah, praise Salat al-Duha. You don't leave Salat al-Duha. That's all he said. He just carried on. 100 years of age, scholar, man of dhikr. Look at the love for Allah. Yeah, people run. Can you imagine the rent he would get from that shop? He could have chosen to have a corner, say, Yallah, rent the rest out, I just need this corner. None of it. Yeah, Book of Allah, large mushaf like this. Everybody's walking past just sitting and reading Quran. Yeah, that's what they see every day. Amazing. So this is what, the point I'm making is, this is what he said. Yeah, think about it. He said that to a young Brit. I'm sure he saw everything in this heart. Yeah, so you can hear it from me. SubhanAllah. So the prayer of the off repenting. Any questions, Salat al-Duha? This is saying 2 rak'ahs at work, you'll be sleepy. You do night shift. But intend. So, Ya Allah, if I had a day shift, I would pray it. But you can pray Salat al-Tahajjud. And not Tahajjud, you pray light prayer. You do night shift, don't you? So, of course, if the phone rings, you might even have to break your prayer to answer because you work for the ambulance. It could be life-threatening, right? So here, but you get it. You can benefit from that night because you're awake and the doors are open. Anybody at work, you have day shifts. Yeah, and most people work during the day, 2 rak'ahs. Even 2 quick rak'ahs. You see? And so here, even if you don't find a prayer mat, even if you're sitting down perhaps, you take a moment, sit down, knock it out. Inshallah ta'ala. So you're registered from amongst those people. It's not hard to do. Even, I don't know, can you do it in basketball courts? No, they won't let you. So many Muslims. The good thing is your shorts are nice and long. Are they prayer friendly? They're not. Wow. Interesting. Because he plays basketball in New York. And so they're interesting. I thought they would be. You need a Mo Salah, man. So when you score, dunk, do you decide what would happen? They jump on you. You're a spring. Ajib. Interesting. I thought it would be the other way around. The prayer of the off repenting. Off repenting is self-explanatory. The Arabic word for al-awwabin. Awwab is a word that refers to somebody. When when people commit sin, they respond in different ways. Some people commit a sin, they don't care. It doesn't mean much. Some people, when they commit a sin, what do? They realize they just screwed up. What do? They run to Allah. Best way to see when a child makes a mistake. When a child makes a mistake, some children, when they know they're messed up, they run to Mummy. Mummy! You get it? Why? Because they know they're just messed up. Some ways is a good way to disguise what they've just done. They know they just spilt the milk or something like this, Here, this swift returning to Allah, this fleeing back to God, is what the word awab sort of means. The one who flees back to Allah. So if you want to be counted from amongst those ranks of people who flee back, then this is for you. It is recommended that one prays 6 rak'ahs after the sunset prayer Maghrib. The basis of this prayer is the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, whoever prays 6 rak'ahs after the sunset prayer is written amongst the oft repenting. In some narrations it says 20 rak'ahs has been mentioned too. You have to have nafil prayer after Maghrib. He then recited the words of Allah Most High, verily to the oft repenting He is most forgiving. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, whoever prays 6 rak'ahs after the sunset prayer in between which he speaks no ill, for him will they be deemed the equivalent of 12 years of worship, as narrated by Tirmidhi ibn Majah. Allahu Akbar. 6 rak'ahs, no speaking ill, okay? 12 years of worship. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Again, when you change that into money, and it said you prayed 6 rak'ahs, I'll give you 12 years of wages. La ilaha illallah. See, money makes sense. It makes sense. We relate to money. You see, because it makes the world go round. You see, and we know what it's worth. And this is the currency of the akhirah. Some people they're going to be multi-billionaires in the akhirah, and they're going to have a great time. And the amazing thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it a fair game for everybody. It's all easy. But most of it comes down to conviction. How much conviction do I have in the Prophet of God's speech? And so here, and narrated by, in another narration, whoever prays 6 rak'ah, okay, after the sunset prayer Maghrib, before speaking, 50 years of sins will be forgiven, as mentioned in the Jami' al-Saghir on the authority of Umar radiallahu ta'ala. So some of these reports are going to be weak, but here it doesn't harm at all. Many reports are narrated regarding the many virtues of standing in prayer between sunset and the nightfall, and Maghrib and Isha. It has been said that this prayer is what is meant by the words rising in the night, nashi'at al-layli, as mentioned in the Quran. Aisha narrates that the Prophet said, whoever prays 20 rakahs after the sunset prayer Maghrib, for him Allah will build a home in paradise. Subhanallah. Even if it doesn't happen every day, you get it? But maybe once a month. Do you get it? Let me build a house in Jannah, man. Oh, come on, family. Let's build a house in Jannah. Imagine a family like that. Imagine the children who are raised like that. You introduced it to them, their mindset, they're pure. So you imprint on their beautiful hearts, there's something called a house in Jannah prayer. Let's go build a house in Jannah. They'll knock them out happily. See, I had a friend, his whole family prayed. They were fasted every Tuesday, every Monday and every Thursday. The whole family. And I watched him through 6 years. He was 12 years old age in our class. And at 18, it's still the same. Because the whole family was doing it. So it became so easy for him to fast Mondays and Thursdays. Because it was the way the house rolled. So here, this is some of the things that we inshallah could do. Here my father, Murginani, said, Al-Awwab is he who oft returns to the obedience of Allah Most High. This prayer possesses great virtue. It has been said that this prayer is what is intended by His Most High, saying, those whose sides forsake their beds. Even there's more stronger for the Tahajjud this. Is that clear? So there's a weak narration here that it means those who stand up for the Maghrib prayer. It is stated in the Ghaznawiyah, the prayer of the off repenting, the time of which is between the 2 night prayers, is 6 rakahs with 3 closing salutations taslima. Abu al-Baqa al-Qurayshi states his commentary, one prays 6 rakahs, intending thereby to perform the prayer of the off repenting. So you read 2 and 2 and 2. Is that clear? In each rakah one reads after the Fatiha, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, and what is it going to be? Qul huwallahu ahad. Okay? These are the 2 surahs. Okay? Where is it? And once, and Qul huwallahu ahad thrice. Okay? It is permissible, in fact, to perform up to 8 rakahs for this prayer. However, our concern here is that here is what is most preferable, and that, according to what has been transmitted, 6 rakahs. So, can I pray my 2 sunnah mu'akkadas, 2 nafil, and add another set of 2 nafil? Some scholars said yes. So you just pray, and this is what you see most people doing. They pray 2 sunnah mu'akkadas, 2 nafil, and another set of 2 nafils. Okay, because that's 6 rakahs. You see, why am I going to constrict this or try to define it in a different way? It's 6 rakahs. Yeah. So inshallah ta'ala, if we take these prayers and bring them into our life, great things to introduce in Ramadan. Not when you got samosas on the table and pakora on the table. Take as many as you want. Take those. Yeah. You get it? Because it's hard, isn't it? You pray your roza, you're going to start knocking out. People are running back to the food table, which there's no harm at all. But this is, inshallah, something slowly we introduce. Inshallah, we've got a week to try to introduce these prayers before we read the night prayer. Any questions, anybody? Any questions? Allah bless you for coming. It's hard in Ramadan to come to the masjid and after a day's work. Allah bless you. Put barakah on your ibadah. Inshallah ta'ala accept everybody's fasting and coming to hear and worship and Quran recitation. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Tomorrow we will be doing tafsir, is it? Surah Al-Rahman, inshallah ta'ala. So those of you who are free and able to come, Ya marhaban bikum. Okay. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I would Google and see if you can find a copy of Prayers for Occasions. It is really worth the investment.